Good morning, everyone. Our first presenter is Karthik Naganathan. He hails from India and is a mechanical engineering undergrad of the 2020 batch. His main areas of interest are rocket propulsion systems, thermal fluids, plasma physics, statistical thermodynamics, and quantum computing. He co-authored a paper on loop heat pipes, which was presented at last year's TFAS. It's his first time presenting at TFAS, and he hopes that this workshop will be a great platform to learn and interact. His paper is Thrust Performance Evaluation of Chemical Rocket Engine by Thermal and Fluid Dynamic Analysis for Exhaust Gas Flow and Subjected to Cooling. It's all you, Karthik.
Thank you very much, sir. Greetings, one and all. I'm Karthik from India. So, my today's presentation topic is Thrust Performance Evaluation of Chemical Rocket Engine by Thermal and Fluid Dynamic Analysis for Exhaust Gas Flow Subjected to Cooling. Second, I think I have a little technical issue. So these are the topics that are going to be discussed, and things of primary importance are the problem statement and flow analysis model, the final outputs of the model, and observations and conclusion. Let's get started. So now let's get back to the problem statement. Rocket propulsion system is one of the most important subsystems of a rocket or a spacecraft, and it is responsible for the momentum control of the rocket. And there are two classes of propulsion systems, the mass-based one and massless propulsion systems. Chemical rocket engines, either if it's solid, liquid, or hybrid propellant type rocket engine, all come under mass-based propulsion systems. Chemical rocket engines are one of the most ubiquitous rocket engines that are used for spaceflight. And although they do not have a very good thermal efficiency, they do provide large amounts of thrust. So when we get back to the problem statement, when we talk about thrust, the thrust is fundamentally dependent on the exit pressure, exit velocity, and the mass flow rate of the exhaust gas. And this exhaust gas is generated due to the combustion of the fuel and propellant. And when this combustion occurs, we can see that there is an exhaust gas coming out of the rocket nozzle with high temperature and pressure at the chamber region. We have to understand that the temperature doesn't actively contribute to the thrust generated by the rocket engine. So this problem statement tries to see whether if it's possible to convert this chamber temperature into chamber pressure by cooling of exhaust gas in the rocket nozzle. So this is of the image of the model rocket nozzle that I have prepared. And one key difference that you can observe is that in this convergent divergent type rocket nozzle or a bell nozzle, you can observe that the throat is longer than the usual designs used for a chemical rocket engine. The reason is I have prepared this throat in order to accommodate a cooling system around the throat region, and that's where the cooling of the exhaust gas will be done for this model. And this view gives you the divergent side of the rocket nozzle, and this one gives you the convergence view of the rocket nozzle. And as you can see on the presentation, these are the nozzle parameters and operating conditions that I have taken for modeling. My rocket engine is based off of the chemical rocket engines with huge thrusts and huge mass flow rates. And the exhaust gas that I have specifically taken is water vapor, which is in a superheated condition. Usually water vapor is a product of combustion of liquid hydrogen and liquid oxygen. And these are the geometric parameters of the nozzle that I have taken. And these are the initial conditions at the convergent that I have taken for chamber pressure and temperature. And when it comes to the cooling of exhaust gas in the cooling condition, the temperature drop for which this whole thing is modeled is 10 degrees Celsius. And the method of cooling that I have chosen for this is a two-phase cooling system. And now let's go into the cooling system requirements. So when we talk about cooling systems, since the mass flow rate is very high and the temperatures are very high, for temperature drop of 10 degrees Celsius, we require a heat removal rate of order 10 power 7 to 10 power 8 watts. And when we talk about the cooling system, we have to understand that the working fluid of this cooling system has to be reusable. If we go for cooling systems such as dump cooling system or film cooling system, where the coolant is not reusable, this makes the overall rocket heavy, as we have to carry loads and loads of propellant, cooling liquid along with propellant, which is not ideal. So the cooling systems ideal for such conditions would be a loop heat pipe or a cryogenic loop heat pipe. And we have to ensure that the heat capacity and the density of the fluid should also be high, so that the structural mass of overall cooling system remains low in order to reduce the structural mass of the rocket. Else, the burden will be put on the rocket engine itself. And the freezing temperature of the coolant should also be very low. As the rocket climbs up in the atmosphere, we must see that the coolant does not freeze in any part of the cooling system. So when we discuss or talk about the geometric effects of nozzle, we have to understand that there is a subtle balance in the exit area ratio and the throat ratio. If the area ratio is too low, then there's a chance of over expansion. Or if the ratio is too high, we might see a normal shock formation in the rocket nozzle itself. And same thing goes with convergent side. We have to see that the sonic velocity is achieved at the throat region, and any drastic changes in the area or sudden changes in the area might lead to a back pressure and a backflow or a reversed flow, which is not expected of a rocket nozzle. And the size also matters because it affects the overall structural mass of the rocket engine. And when we talk about flow analysis model, this rocket engine has, or the rocket nozzle has three specific parts: the convergent section, throat section, and the divergent section. The convergent section is modeled based on a subsonic flow and an incompressible flow. And the throat region is modeled on a sonic flow. And the divergent region is modeled using a supersonic and compressible flow. And when it comes to the cooling condition, or the comparison with cooling and no cooling condition, the cooling is done at the throat region of the nozzle. And when we talk about the flow analysis of the model, instead of going for a regular isentropic flow treatment, the parameters are found using a general steady flow energy equation. And based on the initial conditions and the prevalent conditions of density, velocity, enthalpy, and things like that, the pressure and temperature at each points of the rocket nozzle along the length of the nozzle have been computed, and these are the relevant equations. The first one describes the steady flow energy equation. The second one describes the enthalpy equation, and there we have the thrust equation and the steady flow equation of mass, or the conservation of mass flow. And this is the plot for no cooling. There are three specific plots in this presentation: the pressure, temperature, and the velocity. And this is the first plot without cooling. As we can see that there is a huge pressure drop in the divergent region as expected. And when we talk about velocity, there is a significant gain in velocity in the convergent region, and it reaches a sonic velocity, and it almost remains constant in the throat region. And then we have supersonic expansion in the divergent region. And we can observe the temperature plot is very similar to that one of the pressure. And when we come to the cooling condition, since this graph is scaled to show an overall image, you might not be able to see it properly, but we have observed that there is a slight pressure drop at the divergent when compared to no cooling condition. And there isn't a significant velocity change, and there's a significant temperature difference in the throat region, as we have cooled the exhaust gas in the throat region. One thing that we have observed that there was actually a decrease in thrust when the cooling of exhaust gas has been taken place, and there is also a drop in the exit pressure of the exhaust gas, and there was no significant change in the velocity since the temperature difference was only 10 degrees centigrade. And we have also observed that if the cooling went beyond 10 degrees or much more to like 20 degrees or 100 degrees centigrade, we have observed that there is a significant drop in the kinetic energy of the exhaust gas. The reason being the density increased due to the decrease in temperature. And when we try to achieve an isenthalpic flow in the throat region, although we have considered gravity in all parts of the analysis, the enthalpy was nearly the same in the throat region. And if you wanted to achieve an isenthalpic flow by cooling, then it basically led to a drop in the temperature as well as the pressure, and an increase in density in order to compensate. So that was the main characteristics that we have observed, and it actually led to a loss of thrust generation when the cooling has taken place. So the observations that we have made was that we cannot increase the pressure at the expense of temperature in a rocket nozzle flow. And also what we have observed is that there is a significant decrease in the kinetic energy when the temperature decreases owing to the increase in density. And when we talk about excessive cooling, that might lead to subsonic flow developed in the throat region, which is not at all desirable. When a subsonic flow develops in the throat region, that will lead to a continued subsonic flow in the divergent, which will lead to a subsonic expansion, therefore further reducing the kinetic energy of the rocket, and hence decreasing the thrust generated by the rocket. And we have observed if there is an isenthalpic flow that has to be achieved at the convergent region, we had to have a heating system with a power of 100 megawatts, which is also not desirable. And and in conclusion, we have also found that heating the exhaust gas would actually improve the pressure and kinetic energy of the exhaust gas, thereby improving the thrust. And in conclusion, heating is actually a better option than cooling the rocket engine. Of course, there are several other issues related to the structure of rocket engine nozzle, such as wall stresses developed due to excessive heating. And there are several research work papers that have been published in order to cool the rocket engine nozzle in order to preserve the structural integrity. But still, heating the exhaust gas is actually helpful in improving the thrust. And one has to observe that by heating the rocket exhaust gas that is being propelled out, it isn't actually an energy efficient method, to be precise. But there comes a compromise between efficiency and thrust, and that's the reason chemical rocket engines are still in use, because the electric propulsion system that in its current state cannot produce high thrusts or the thrust required for a liftoff condition. So when there is a huge thrust requirement, we can actually add energy to the exhaust gas in order to improve its thrust. And one of the other reason is we cannot actually extract the 100% energy from the combustion process or the chemical energy of the substances. So by adding energy using objects such as plasma generators, which are capable of generating very high temperatures, we can actually increase the temperature of the exhaust gas, thereby improving the thrust. And one of the other modes of gaining this energy could be by storing solar radiation energy when orbiting around the Earth or any other planets in the solar system, or while it's in solar system, or using the ambient radiation. Although this would also require significant improvements in the battery technology as well as electrical power systems in order to make this achievable. And I would also like to thank Mr. Magnus Holmgren for his MATLAB his MATLAB function or program, which helped me a lot in order to compute my calculations. And I would also like to thank Mr. G. Vinod Kumar and Mrs. G. Sumitra, both assistant professors of Mechanical Engineering Department of my college. And thank you very much.
All right, thank you, Karthik. If I don't see any questions in the chat right now, so if people have questions out there, please enter them into the chat. So it looks you assumed water vapor, purely water vapor. Have you thought about looking at any other propellants? I assume the water vapor comes from this hydrogen oxygen.
Yes, sir.
Have you considered looking at other propellants?
No, sir, I haven't considered any other kinds of propellants. My analysis was basically in a point of view of thermodynamics instead of actual combustion process. And it's I couldn't actually find the proper data regarding other kinds of propellants since there was enough data regarding steam, so that was easy to model. I just wanted to check whether cooling actually gave a good output or increase in thrust as expected. And on contrary, I have understood that basically drop in temperature led to an increase in density and overall a drop in the kinetic energy.
All right. We'll give it a little bit more time for some questions to roll in.
Yes, sir.
Have you given any thought to reclaiming any waste heat and reusing it to heat the pressure and gas on a pressure regulated system? It might be that it could increase performance a bit by compensating for the cooling due to expansion.
Excuse me, sir. I think there has been a slight problem in the audio. Could you kindly repeat the question?
Sure. Have you given any thought to reclaiming any waste heat and reusing it to heat a pressure and gas on a pressure regulated system? Maybe that could increase performance a bit by compensating for the cooling due to expansion.
So what I have observed is when I try to take off any kind of heat from the system, that basically led to a drop in kinetic energy. And one of the main problems that comes with heat recovery and reusing the heat is the problem with the heat transfer. So the main fundamental problem is that the temperature of the exhaust gas itself is very high. So if we try to recover any heat from either if it's through radiative cooling or any other kinds of cooling or from those systems, it's a little difficult to transfer this heat as the temperature on the other end has to be very high. So I thought the only option that I could think of was a plasma generator if I had to increase the temperature in order to maximize the thrust. And the focus of this topic is mainly to improve the thrust and not much on the efficiency part. So that was like the whole idea of it.
All right. Thank you.